Well, let's get the union view on this. We can talk to Kevin Courtney, Joint General Secretary of the National Education Union. Good to have you with us. Thanks for being with us. Who's right, Greenwich Council or the government?
Greenwich Council are more correct than the government. It's astonishing to me that Gavin Williamson, the Education Secretary, and the government are being so heavy-handed in their approach to this. Council leaders in London have been talking with public health officials. I've just heard that in the last day, there's been an increase of 68% in positive cases in Islington. Now, you see those sorts of figures. You're a local council leader. You talk to public health officials. You've heard from Matt Hancock the week before that there's a surge in cases in secondary schools, and you make a sensible public health decision to ask schools to go to online learning apart from key worker and vulnerable kids. And the government steps in using the Coronavirus Act, wrongly using it, in my view. I think Greenwich is more right because it was very late for parents to get this news. And I've heard the report just now, people asking why one borough, not others. Sadiq Khan suggested that it should be the whole of London. I think that was right. But the government should have acted on this weeks ago. They should have anybody who was looking at the data could see these increases. They could see the way cases were going up in secondary schools. We were drawing attention to it from my union, writing to government about it. They should have said that all schools should have gone online for this last week before the Christmas break. That would have kept cases much lower than we're currently going to be at. It's no wonder they're now re-looking at the Christmas regulations when they haven't done anything to keep cases down in the run-up to Christmas.
But the government's argument is that children's education is sacrosanct. And let me just quote you what the Ofsted Chief Inspector has said about this. Amanda Spielman saying, "It's so easy to call for closures and to forget the long-term price that children pay. We need clarity, consistency and not last-minute decisions."
Well, we certainly need clarity, we certainly need consistency, but Amanda Spielman is completely wrong on this question. It isn't easy to call for closures, but if you don't go hard and fast against exponential growth, then you get yourself into huge trouble. We've been calling across this term to put schools in the circuit break lockdown that should have happened at half term. Sage called for a circuit break in September. Unfortunately, Rishi Sunak persuaded Boris Johnson not to go down that line. That would have left us all in a much better position. And now we have huge disruption in our schools already because they aren't controlling the virus. We've just had the attendance figures again. They come out every Tuesday. And today, partly because of pressure from my union, they have produced breakdowns by local authority. But you see the attendance figures, 20% of secondary children are off school at the moment. That is huge levels of disruption, and it varies across the country. I've just got these figures in front of me. Across the last term, in West Sussex, attendance was 90%. Now that's much worse than normal because attendance is normally 95%, but in West Sussex it was 90%, secondary schools this is, across the term. Rochdale, it was only 70%. That's 20% difference. That's the equivalent of 3 weeks lost education in Rochdale compared to West Sussex because they aren't controlling the virus in schools. They didn't put schools in a circuit break to get cases down. They don't allow schools to move to rotas, which is known to keep it down. At the worst end, in Sandwell, in the last week of November, the week of ending the 26th of November, 63% of secondary school children were off school. In Medway, it was 62% of secondary children are off school. So Amanda Spielman and Gavin Williamson need to look at that. That is huge levels of disruption in schools.
Well, I do hear what you say about that, but equally, if you do shut down schools, as Amanda Spielman, the Ofsted Chief Inspector, said, it is children who pay a long-term price, isn't it? I mean, do you accept that if you shut down schools, these are days and weeks that children will never get back in terms of their education?
That's definitely correct. And that's why we are suggesting that you should do these things in a planned way. So we were advocating to put schools in the lockdown. Now that would have meant an extra week of online learning over half term, but that could have been planned if the government had been talking to us, talking to other education unions. That would have been a planned week of online learning. And then if we'd gone into rotas in secondary schools, we would actually have had far less disruption. We'd have had children being taught every lesson and far more of them being taught every lesson. So you can't just wish these things away and say children should be in school, and then it turns out that what you've done is created a system where 63% of children in Sandwell aren't in school. You can't just wish that they're there if you aren't taking the steps to control the virus in the first place. You're just wish fulfillment and not leading to a better education.
All right. Well, Kevin Courtney, good to talk to you, Joint General Secretary of the National Education Union. Many thanks for your time.